Well, I suppose in from a transpersonal perspective, we would call these extraordinary human experiences,
yes.
which are things which we are led to believe, do not occur between our birth and our death.
No,
these are sort of out of the ordinary.
And I think in this day and age, there's so many books out there, and so you can get so much peer support these days. I mean, I wasn't trained in psychology in those days. I was just a woman trying to lead a life with all this other phenomena going around. There were a few books in the library, very few. I'd rush into the library, maybe down in Wimborne, there'd be a little shelf with a cult, and I'd be ashamed to go there because the librarian was watching me, and I might grab something and say, yeah, that looks vaguely familiar, what's going on for me? And I read hundreds of books over the years, trying to get comfort, really, inner comfort. But when I read a book, I'd read a statement, there might only be 7 lines in that book that were relevant, but I'd get a little thing going up and down down from the solar plexus up to the throat like a butterfly, flying up and down. It was so strange. When I got that, I knew it was a truth for me.
Okay.
And gradually, over the years, I amassed, that's true. That feels true. So it didn't matter what people wrote in books, unless it felt right to me, I couldn't take it on board, which good, I can see in hindsight, is safety.
Yeah.
But eventually I went on to learn to communicate with the vicar. He communicated through, you'd call it inspired writing, almost automatic writing. Your eyes are shut, you're just sprawling it out. But building up to do that, I had help with colleagues who were, well versed in that subject. Met them all through the Wessex Research Association, actually, who tried to hone me into a position of feeling okay. And they said, well, you need to get up in the early hours of the morning so you're not dealing with the day before stuff or the next day. So I put a mental message out, all right, I'm going to communicate with this vicar, but only if I wake up feeling really hot. But that was a real cowardly thing to do because I usually slept all night. But after about 3 or 4 nights of constantly being woken up, I thought, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
I've got to go downstairs in this cottage where all this phenomena goes on. And I sat my 2 big old English sheepdogs by my side and sat at that table, and I put headphones on. I had Mozart playing because I actually didn't want to hear any bumps. So I was quite nervous about it, which is, in hindsight, ridiculous. Because the first time I sat down that night and this great rush of energy came through me, and he came out with the pen is mightier than the sword, and I can only describe the feeling as that came through as ecstasy. What is ecstasy? It's those moments in your life where you want everything to stand. Every sense in me was alive. It felt intense love, and bang, he started to pour out philosophy, talk about our life together 400 years ago when he'd been my tutor, when I'd been on the Critchell estate, one of 13 children. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And that went on for many night after night of pouring out this philosophy for life, all the things I'd forgotten about, all the education I hadn't had this time, about the magic in our life, the ability to tune into the cosmos, really. That was beautiful. Eventually I didn't need to work at it. I'd be out in the garden working with the flowers. I worked in the floral industry. I'd feel the need to go in and sit and write. And so I had this wonderful friend by my side. It was beautiful. And then I was taken back by my researcher to the home I'd lived in 400 years ago near Dorset, then back to Somerset. It was I just suddenly realised that immortality is true. We never die. And we come back. And that to me was so uplifting. I think gave me such courage inside. And I needed that because what was going to happen in the next few years was going to be pretty grim. And I needed every bit of strength and tangibility to hang on to the good stuff from the other worlds that helps us through life and helps us deal with things. So beautiful. But he, eventually he moved on from me. I didn't need him anymore, and he didn't need me. Yeah. And I moved on to other contact, but he was there, and it was a great growth process.
So it helped you overcome, or gave you your self-confidence back and an inner confidence in life in all of its dimensions.
Yes.
Because obviously, clearly, as it says in the book, the story you tell, later on, you were confronted by all sorts of legal wrangles and various other things, which would have been very easy, I guess, for a lot of us just to have shied away from or not even have attempted to do anything about. But it gave you a greater understanding that gave you that inner strength to have a go.
Yes, I think that I know I'm never alone. You know, there's always help out there. What the art is, I've learned, is to ask for help. So we can sit in the pit mire of life and not reach out. We do need to reach out because nothing comes in uninvited. You know, we are people with autonomy. And if we want help, we can ask for it, but we have no right to be invaded. And the other realms of life above us and around us don't seek to invade our lives. They seek to be invited. And we can only invite them if we have that understanding. And I'd had this initiation, and I know there are a myriad of energies around me. I would say in certain areas, some of the energies aren't good. You need to differentiate. You need to start to trust the feelings in our bodies. These things that we're not particularly encouraged in our culture to go for, really. I mean, I was driving here this morning thinking about what we were going to talk about. I was going towards the horses and how they, as you know, I work with horses a lot, how they just read us. They just are so safe. They're very limbic horses, coming out that limbic system of sensation and feeling, and they trust it. That's how they stay alive. But really, we've got all that, but we just shut it off. And we live in this box of this is life, this is reality, this teacher says do this, do that. And we cut off this huge reservoir that connects us to the cosmos. And that's where we're tuning into, and we've all got it. As you know, I then went on, having written the book and written another one, then went into to study psychology. I studied religion, then I went to study psychology, because I could not equate it all the time. I was having such an unusual experience, and, you know, a lot of people would give me a funny look, but actually I found psychology, I found transpersonal studies, and I thought, actually, I'm functioning as we are meant to function. That was a bit horrific to find that maybe in my late 50s or early 60s. How sad. Really sad. Which made me say, well, I'm just going to write about it, and I'm just going to go out into the world, and I don't care what people say anymore. I've lived this. Just watch these little children when they come into the world. You know, you're giving birth to something wonderful here. You know, make sure you have children for the right reason. Make sure that you nurture them, because they're a real gift, and it's a real honour to have children. Make sure we do it right.
Indeed. So the book itself, if we can talk about that as a physical thing a little bit. You have a daughter who trained as an artist, which was, and she has created an absolutely wonderful cover for the book.
Yes.
It's seldom as a publisher that the author comes along prepared with things already done, and she's also done some wonderful pencil drawings of William Thomas and other figures, and also obviously of the houses and places that you experience through your life. And it somehow, in itself, from my perspective, was something that was meant to be, in that it felt very whole and very real.
Yes.
Often there is a need to work on a book and edit and so on, and yet all of that seemed to have been done beforehand.
Yes.
And I know you were involved in publishing yourself, but there was a sort of completeness, and I felt that very deeply myself. And I remember writing after you'd first sent it in to me, into my planner, I want to do this.
I'm very grateful I am as well, Ian, as you know.
Well, no, it's
and to come under the transpersonal banner to me is, you know, the transpersonal studies saved me. They made me realise I was okay, and we all need to know that we're okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that was wonderful. And as regards my daughter in the book, well, many years ago, we've already had interviews with, I've already interviewed Jeannie Glynn.
Yes,
it was Jeannie Glynn who, in the middle of all that going on at the cottage, I went to find, I didn't know her, I found her through somebody, several towns away, and I went to see her because I was looking for clarification, and I was always told by the cleric, I'll come through someone else one day, and then maybe you'll be happy accepting her.
Yeah.
And I went to see Jeannie Glynn, and she was in a little old cottage somewhere, and she said to me, oh, you're a writer and you've got the scholarly hand of a very ancient cleric writing through you. So I denied it. I thought, I'm going to really test. I said, no, I'm a florist. Kept lying to her. This is how keen I was to get. She said, well, I'm sorry, you're going to write a book. You've got the scholarly hand of this ancient gentleman writing through you, and the book will be illustrated, and you've no need to look for an illustrator because your daughter's an illustrator. And she said to me, I've got your father and his brother here, and they're both lifting a glass of beer. They work together, and they did. And they're saying, this needs to be done. So that, yes, I had clarification, and I wouldn't look to anyone else other than to Lisa to illustrate the book. So, yes, I think it was a project that I must have come in with a mission to do it. You know, this desire to start writing, yet I was not a great scholar, you know, I was not no great academic. My English had been pretty awful, and I remember when I wrote my first draft and John Lloyd looked at it, and I'd been a legal secretary, he said it reads as a legal document. But it was very tight. So yes, I think I must have come in with this to do this, and so I hope I'm half on track, or more than that on track. I hope, and I just feel I want to say to the world, wake up. For years, I've had this desire to stand on the cash outs in supermarkets when there's all this angst going on. I feel the angst, you know, elderly people bickering, mothers screaming at their children, the relationships not working, and I feel sad for them, because I think if they could just see the more than, they might be able to cope with the difficulty of life when we're in this box. It isn't easy. Life's not easy. And I just wanted to say, hey, hang on, there's hope.
Yes.
Hang on, this has happened to me. And maybe if you just ask for a bit of help, you might be able to get some sort of handle on what's going on, why you're living this life, and maybe get the courage to take a risk and step outside the box and make it a little bit more joyful. So I suppose that's what I'm doing now. So I'm happy doing it, because at long last I'm able to speak with confidence, because I have tested it. I was known as Doubting Thomas, but that hasn't been a bad thing.
No.
Because everything I've put in that book's been well researched and psychologically underpinned. I don't want to give people false hope. I just want to give them hope. Yeah.
Hope with responsibility and integrity.
Yes, and excitement. You know, it's hard to be excited in the age in which we're living in for probably a huge percentage of the population. I mean, I struggle today, and I've still got the same business worries, same financial constraints, but, you know, I think, well, I'm okay. I've lost everything. I've been dispossessed of my home more than once, but I'm okay, and I think that's all we want to be, is okay. You know, it's worth opening your eyes in the morning, even if it's only just to look out at a nice view. I am okay. Yeah.
So the book is now available and out there.
Yes.
And available on, or advertised on your own website.
Yes.
And obviously available from Archive Publishing.
Via you.
Or transpersonalbooks.com, as the website is called.
Yeah.
And so people, if they are interested, can access it very easily.
They can indeed, and they can come back to me through my website. I've had a lot of feedback already, and I think that is the joy for an author. You know, you stick your. I mean, it's very personal. This book, you bared my soul to the world, and it's quite an exposing thing to do. And it's lovely when people come back, and I've had a lot of good feedback and saying, thank you for writing it. You know, this has happened in my life. You've made me feel comfortable, and that's what I did it for. And at the moment, everything that's been coming in has been pleasant. I anticipate that I shall get some flack as well. But, you know, anyone who wants to give flack, I'd say, look, I've only offered you to look at it as a possibility. And there are many things we read as possibilities, and I think we have to allow everybody. It's nice to share. And formulate your own opinions for it. I did it with the best possible reason, to try and help people.
Josephine, thanks ever so much for coming in and expressing all your thoughts and feelings about it. It's lovely to hear. I know I've heard it before, but it's lovely for other people to share that, and that wonderful depth of understanding and integrity that you give whenever you speak about your journey. So, hope you've enjoyed today's programme and listening to Josephine telling her story, and hopefully see you again soon.